Welcome everyone to the Evident Proof demo. I'm Matt Roden, I'm the CTO of Evident. We run demos twice a week on Tuesdays at 10 AM and Thursdays at 4 PM. We keep these demos to about 10 minutes. The idea of the demo is to give you a very brief introduction to the platform, take you through an example workflow, and hopefully spark your imagination for some questions which you can ask us on Telegram or email, and you can follow up with us at any point, and we'll be happy to have a chat with you. So what is Evident Proof? Evident Proof is a mechanism for proving data. So it's a platform that's accessed programmatically, and essentially data is submitted to the Evident Proof platform in the form of what we call evidence, which can be transactional data, it can be event data, audit data, provenance data, and so on. We take that data in, we convert it into a proof seal, which is essentially a hash of your data, and we store that proof seal in an immutable, unchangeable, unhackable way on the Ethereum public blockchain and on our private Evident Proof blockchain. Effectively, what this does is applies distributed consensus to your data to a point where we can prove beyond doubt, using a proof certificate that can be used in a court of law, that your data was stored exactly how you said it was, matches the source data, matches the format, matches the timestamp, and so on. So our basic premise here is that traditional databases are not secure. They can be changed, they can be hacked. So Evident Proof is a platform that changes that. It's designed to run alongside your existing line of business applications and data stores, but it, for the first time, gives you distributed immutable consensus. So without further ado, let's crack on to the actual demo itself. So we have a real client who is the largest provider of government taxi licensing solutions to the UK government. They essentially issue the software and the processes that helps local government issue taxi licenses, including the checks and balances to verify that that person should be given a taxi license, and then stores that data. So why is it important for this client to be able to prove the immutability of their data? Well, only a couple of months ago in The Guardian, an article came out saying that last year 150,000 taxi licenses were issued incorrectly. So they were issued to drivers with drink driving bans, criminal convictions, you name it, they had it. Obviously, that's not a good thing to have happened. It doesn't bode well for the company that issued those, or the council that issued those licenses. But ultimately, then it's down to them to prove that the checks and balances either were done or they weren't done, and here was the reason. So it was fraudulent, or so on and so forth. Now, with a traditional database, you cannot prove that. It's impossible, because, as we said, traditional databases are not secure. I cannot show with a traditional database that that data was not tampered with or changed. With Evident Proof and immutable distributed consensus, this becomes entirely possible. So with some simple integrations into the Evident Proof platform, integrating their line of business application, they suddenly get this whole layer of immutability on top of their existing line of business application. So I'm sure we all understand the importance of that. So our client's software is a large line of business application, and I'm not going to demonstrate that. Indeed we can't. It is their confidential system. However, we have to show how one would use the Evident Proof service, we have created a smaller version of their workflow to create a taxi license and integrate it into the evident proof service. How does one integrate into the evident proof service? Well, you grab an API key, look at the API docs, you write some code, and that is your data then stored immutably. We take care of the rest. So let's jump into this demo that we've created, and it's pretty noddy because we're just demonstrating the workflow. But as we go through, I'll talk you through how a larger enterprise line of business system might work. So you have to excuse my internet speed; it might be a tad slow today. So let's put in a name of a license holder here. So we're going to put John. What haven't I done? John Peters. Okay, we're going to say license active, and we're going to say that we've done a criminal record check. Now, this is a checkbox. Obviously, this would not be a checkbox in a large enterprise line of business system. This would be an opportunity to prove that a criminal record check was performed. So it would be some trace from the let's say there was a programmatic call to do a criminal record check, or there was a paper document that's scanned in, or so on and so forth. This is the evidence we refer to when we talk about evidence and proof. This evidence is then sealed into a proof seal, and we then have proof of the evidence. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's then put in a driving license number. Again, you'd have a scan of the driving license, maybe some check with a government agency that license is valid, and so on. Identity check. Once again, you would have documents there to verify that. Let's create this taxi license. And that's just submitting in the background there. So you can now see that we have John Peters. There is his taxi license. That's great. So that is within the taxi licensing platform. What about evident proof? What's happened to that data that's been converted to evidence? Well, let's show you. So we can see this record is now created. What's happened is in the background, this has been submitted to our REST API, and we can go in and view this record. So we have a dispatch ID. What is a dispatch? It is simply an API call to our platform, but we give it an ID. Where, so this is an IP address or a geolocation. In this case, it's a local IP address because I'm running locally. When, so this is a timestamp. Now we're on to dispatch evidence. So evidence is our proprietary format for collecting the data that you need to prove. We consult with you to work out what proof means to you and what evidence means to you. So we help you along with that process. So we have a primary service user cross-reference. What does that mean? This is a key that is meaningful to your source data. In this case, it is a single primary key. It could be a compound key. It could be a complex lookup. It's really meaningful to your data. A key for the data we're about to store. Now, those of you in the software development community will recognize the key value format, very common. In this case, we've put a key of our new license. So this could be a serial number and so on. And we've got a JSON representation of the data from the line of business workflow where we created the taxi license. So our value here could be a single word, a single field. It could be a JSON format like this. It could be a large, complex, multi-form JSON representation. It could be the works of Shakespeare. We don't really care. What we care about is this seal at the other end. So we can store your data for you. We can set up an on-premise infrastructure for you to store your source data instead as evidence. But at the end of the day, what we have to prove this data is the proof seal. So this proof seal doesn't reveal your source data. It is a one-way hash only. It is this seal that we store along with metadata to do with this evidence on the Ethereum blockchain and on the evident proof private blockchain. It has the timestamped and everything encoded into it, so we can prove the immutability of your source data, which is what we're trying to achieve. So that's great. So here's a receipt to do with this dispatch of evidence. You can see I have a receipt ID. What is a receipt? This is my reference back to the fact I've stored this data immutably on the evident proof platform. you can keep this on our platform. You can store this against your source data, since it gets returned with the API call of the dispatch. It's entirely up to you, but it's important to have a reference to this. And then we get on to a proof certificate. So what is a proof certificate? A proof certificate is your way of saying to a court or to a third party and so on that you did indeed store this data immutably in the exact way you said you did at the time you said you did, and all the data matches and so on. And this may occur a year down the line, 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, a litigation scenario and so on. This is your mechanism to say I used evident proof and my data was stored immutably and in a distributed way, and here I can prove this. This document can be tailored to your organization. We're going to go and have a look at it now, and we can see here that we have our original data. We have a request ID for the certificate. We have a requested at timestamp. We have tokens used. This is incredibly important and important. We've done our pre-accepted form is what allows our platform to act in a distributed way and for proof to be immutable and ever accessible. If anyone wants any more information on tokenization within our platform, please reach out to myself, Adrian Clark, Brian McClafferty, or any of the team. And you can see here that we have a transaction ID that represents the transaction on the Ethereum blockchain, demonstrating that this record was indeed stored in an immutable distributed way. We can tailor this proof certificate in a document format to your organization's requirements, and we can look at what proof means to you and include it on that document. So how did we do for time? Right, good. So so that is evident proof. Any questions, give us a shout. We're always on Telegram, and I will see you on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thanks very much.